So, welcome to all this afternoon. My name is Rebecca Hockey. I am the Northern Territory Committee Lead for Australian Institute of Project Management, and I am today's facilitator for this webinar. Today we have Barbara Clifford, who is actually based in Alice Springs, presenting to us on master time management using practical tools and tips. Now, I'm super excited to be present today for this presentation from Barbara. But before I hand over to her, I would like to first begin with the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Okay, without further ado, we have about 124 people online at the moment and still climbing in numbers, which is excellent to see. Barbara, I'll hand over to you now and thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. You can hear me all okay? I'm assuming every technology's holding out for us, Rebecca.
Yes, I can hear you, Barbara.
Okay. We had some little technical hiccups before my end, I'm afraid. The irony of time management, I was panicking to get everything working. So I'm coming to you on my laptop as opposed to my desktop PC, which doesn't have great camera angles, I have to say, but at least you get a nice big close-up of me. Hopefully you're going to look at the slides and not me, with the information that I've got included in here for you. I've got a lot to share with you today and I'm really excited and feel very privileged to spend this next hour with you. It's going to be packed full of information. I want to tap into some practical tools for you. It's some foundational information on time management and then how we can apply it, particularly in email. This is something I am really passionate about. So I'm going to share with you what I have learned and developed over a period of time. So as Rebecca mentioned, I come to you from the heart of Australia in Alice Springs. A lot of people say it's the middle of nowhere. We like to say it's the middle of everywhere. We're equal distance to every beautiful beach in Australia. So I can jump on a plane and go to any one of those beautiful beaches. I do know that I'm talking to the converted here. I know that you are all passionate in your field of work around project management. So I'm looking forward to the questions that we'll have at the end, the comments, anything that you want to ask me about what I'm going to show to you, and I'll do my very best to stay on time. I am known as the time tamer. That was my business name when I first started out in this space over 10 years ago. And I'm passionate about just making sense of things, of creating some order out of chaos and just simplifying work. We should all feel good about going to work and enjoying our time at work and being productive and efficient. So that's my goal, is to support people through that process. What I will say to you though, I want to share with you just quickly. I often start my presentations with this image because what we've found, this is the language that we use at my company at the Hinwood Institute. What we've found is that when I first started out in my business as the time tamer and I specialized in time management, what I quickly found was that people who were stressed really struggled to manage their time. And when people couldn't manage their time, they got stress. So I quickly started training in stress management to be able to support people in that area of work, to be able to be resilient, to be adaptive, to be innovative, to roll with the punches, because when we are resilient, we're better able to manage our time. And what I also found is that you can see here, better together, that's talking about being able to efficiently delegate and stay on top of the work that you do with others and working effectively as a team. When we are working with others in the workplace, we also need to be efficient in our communication skills. We need to be able to set boundaries, to manage conflicts, to negotiate, to assert ourselves, and do that in a way that's professional and emotionally intelligent. So those things come into play as well. So this is why you can see here I've got Talk Smart, Essential Human Skills. This is about the emotional intelligence. It's those communication techniques. And mission control, that just refers to leadership capability. All of us at some point in our life are going to be the person that someone goes to for advice. We've walked the path before. Even if you're a parent, you're already putting into practice basic leadership skills. So all of these things come into play. All of these things need to be functioning well. This is what we talk about in terms of work-life balance and all of those things. And we're just zeroing in on this today. I've only got a short period of time to smash through some information for you. However, I want to raise your awareness that all of these things are going to impact upon your capacity to manage your time. I want to share with you too the things that tip people over this time in coaching people to be effective around their time management, emotional intelligence, and communication. These are the things that I typically see. These are the top three, is what people say to me. They feel overwhelmed, overworked, and over this. I'm just over it. I'm over it. You've all said that at some point, haven't you? Oh, I can't do this today. And when we feel like that, when those moments occur for us at work, that is when we start to feel like we're letting people down. We feel like an imposter. We're not being at our best. We're not being professional. We're not doing our jobs well. We're letting down people at work, and then we let down people at home. And when people are really stressed, and people that have experienced burnout often talk about work getting the best of me, and people at home gets what's left over. In fact, the World Health Organization in 2019 declared that burnout is it's a consequence of occupational hazard in the workplace, the stress that we experience. So when we get to that point, we can also feel negligent. We're not doing what is expected of us, and we can feel off course. And I don't want you to feel like that. We shouldn't feel like that at work. I want to move you across to the other side of the page. That's what you should be feeling like. You should feel valued. You should feel appreciated. You should feel like you have the solutions to navigate these complex challenges that you're experiencing in the workplace. And when we have those things in place for us, we're going to feel motivated, inspired, energetic. We're going to enjoy coming to work. And we are then able to make strategic choices, not just for the department, for the company, for the project, but for ourselves professionally as well, so that we are moving forward and enjoying the work that we're doing. And when that happens, we become the trailblazers. People come to us for advice and direction. And this is where that leadership stuff falls into play. And then we're going to feel certain and confident. So that's what you should be working towards in terms of the workplace well-being. And now legislation has changed, interestingly, as well, around recognizing the benefits to business and to organizations in their profitability to keep people well at work, to keep them enjoying work. And so we have the legislation around psychological hazards in the workplace, the right to disconnect, all of these things that are supporting us to work well at work. But I digress. We are just focusing on time management today. And I'm going to go back to a basic principle that you've probably all heard before in terms of time management, some of the things that you might be familiar with. However, in this world, we now need to apply it into the digital space. What I want to share with you is the number one thing that is the hardest for people to do when implementing any email mastery system that I show them, which is what I'm going to share with you. I'm going to show you some of the key things from the email mastery system I use. And it's any time management, to be honest. Anything that we do, the hardest thing, the number one thing that is really difficult for people is changing their habit. This is the big thing for people in terms of time management, especially when we're stressed. When we're stressed, we resort back to what is familiar and comfortable. And you think about it in terms of habits when you've had a really tough day. You fall off the diet, you go for the chocolate, you go for that glass of wine, you skip the gym maybe, or maybe you go hard at the gym, whatever your habit is, but we revert back to what's familiar and comfortable. So this is the hard thing for people in terms of improving their time management. They become resistant to change. So the first step is actually feeling comfortable with that. Now, what I'm showing you here, my background is in the film and television industry. That's where I started out. And trust me, that's a time precious industry. And I also say to people as a filmmaker, I'm an absolutely brilliant waitress because that's what we had to do to supplement our career in the film industry is doing waitressing or bartending, which is also really time precious. But this comes from my time in the film industry. This is what we call video feedback. So it is, you've heard that squealy noise with a microphone, right? Where the microphone, if it goes too close to a speaker, it creates that squealy noise. And that's because the microphone is amplifying what's coming through the speaker. The speaker is projecting what's coming out of the microphone, and it creates this infinite loop. Well, this is the same thing. This is a video feedback. So if you ever turn your web camera onto your monitor, this is what it would look like. The webcam would be filming what's on the screen. The screen is showing what's on the webcam, and we create this infinite loop. Now you're probably wondering, why am I showing you this? Well, the point to this is that in your emails, this is kind of what you're doing. Most people are probably doing this. We're going into our inbox and we keep touching our emails over and over with our brain. Well, that's what I say. It's touching it with your brain. And the research shows that we only have so many decisions that we can make in the day. We have a decision quota. And once we use up that quota, our brain slows down. So every time you go into your inbox and look at that email again and touch it with your brain again, you're deciding, do I need to attend to this or not? And you're exhausting a resource and you're creating an infinite loop. So the goal is to make a decision once and once only. Do I need to attend to this today or not? Can this wait until tomorrow? When do I need to attend to this? And not making that decision over and over and over again. Your brain is a beautiful machine that is designed to apply genius. It's another masterclass that I deliver as well, is how to work in that genius zone. That's another topic. But we want to conserve that energy and that decision making to do the work that you beautiful, smart people are very qualified to do, rather than fluffing around in emails, right? And wasting time. And this is what David Allen says. If you've got a pen and paper, write this name down. He's a contemporary thought leader in time management, and he wrote a brilliant book called Getting Things Done. David Allen is the master of keeping things simple. And when it's simple, we'll keep doing it. We'll keep adopting those methodologies of getting things done. And he actually trademarked his system, the Getting Things Done system. It's called the GTD methodology, which is what a lot of people like me, time management coaches, actually support people to apply into the workplace. And this is what he says: your brain is for having ideas, not for holding them. We don't want to be retaining all of those things in our head. Oh, I must call that person. Oh, I must do that. We want to get to the point where we can trust our systems to remind us when to do things. Now, I know in your industry, you're already pretty good at doing that, right? You're already making those good decisions and planning things and using systems in place to prompt you. But you don't want to be thinking about things that you need to do in the middle of the night, the email you forgot to respond to, or in the shower or in the car on the way to work. We want to be able to have systems in place that remind us at just the right time for when we need to do something. I talk to people when I use an analogy to talk about the tasks that we need to do in the day, and it's a bit like a conveyor belt. What conveyor belts are you having to run along to find the tasks that you need to do? Now, email was originally designed to support us. Now it's become this epidemic of distraction. And not only do we have email, we now have Slack and Teams and other tools that are sending us alerts and messages. We have a mobile phone that has SMS and WhatsApp and Facebook and all these other places where people might be sending us information. And the reality is, it's not just work, it's our personal life too. Don't forget to pick up the dry cleaning on the way home, those kind of little things that you've got to remember to do. We've got to ring Telstra or the ATO or whatever it is, and remember to do those things each day. A lot of us have more than one telephone. We've got a landline, a mobile phone, a phone for work. These are all conveyor belts. And I wonder how many of you have lots of post-it notes around your monitor or on your desk. Some of it's things that you need to remember or logins, and some of it is tasks that you need to do or important phone call you need to make. And maybe there's lots of notebooks that you have where you're writing down things you need to do and lists of things to do. These are all conveyor belts of information and tasks. They're all going, look at me, you need to do me next. When I do workshops on training and face-to-face or online, I quite often ask people, it's a fun game, to count how many email accounts they've got. And I think the highest I've ever had was about 10. So the Gmail accounts at home and the accounts that you have for the charity group that you're a board member of, and then all the email accounts at work that you monitor. These are all conveyor belts screaming for your attention. So the goal is to try and streamline that as much as possible. We want to minimize how many plates we're trying to spin at any one time and not letting anything drop. And David Allen talks about, this is such a beautiful quote. We have these systems, we put systems in place where we put things in a place and we forget about them. So our brain can focus on the work at hand. And the system brings those things back into our attention at just the right time and coming to us, tapping us on the shoulder and saying, here's that thing you wanted to remember. So that's the ideal. And what I help people do is to do that with email, because email is where we put so much of our focus and attention. It's where so much of the work comes to us, where we spend so much of our time. Here's a scary thing for me to share with you. This is how much time people typically waste in their email. It's a bit like a dripping tap, right? You think, oh, it's just a drip, it's not much. But when you put a bucket under a dripping tap, you come back an hour later and it's overflowing and you say, oh my goodness, I had no idea I was wasting that much water. It's a bit like that with email. A minute here, a minute there, a couple of minutes here, that's your dripping tap. So when I show people my methodology, the email mastery system that I use, typically saves people 2 hours a day. That is how much time you are wasting in email management alone. Now, that is about 10 hours a week. It's about 12 weeks a year. That's how much time you waste in your emails. So David Allen talks about, he breaks it down into this simple methodology. We need to refine where and how we collect data and information. Where are all the tasks coming from? And how do we centralize that conveyor belt of task management? The thing that brings people unstuck is process and organizing. That's what typically will bring people unstuck. The reviewing and the doing bit's easy. Once we've got our lists and our process, that part's easy. It's actually deciding what goes into what category and what order are we going to do things in. Mastering that prioritization is key. What do I need to do today? What do I need to do tomorrow? What comes first? What comes second? And that will ensure that we are seeing any challenges that are coming down the conveyor belt. You've seen those old movies like what's her name? Lucille Ball. You have seen those movies where where the cakes are coming down a conveyor belt, and then there's too many cakes and she starts dropping them. I think it was Lucille Ball in one of the episodes of her show. It's kind of like that with our task management. So we don't want to be juggling all these cakes. We want to be able to see, oh my goodness, there's a load coming and I need to be able to do something about that. If you remember nothing else from today, this is probably the most important. We load everything into our notebooks and task lists and everywhere, and we mix into the system things that are actionable and things that aren't, and it just creates noise. Most people in their inboxes, and if you do this, no judgment, you are not alone. Most people operate purely out of their inbox, and then they have folders, lots and lots of folders, where they either archive things or put things that they need to action. And typically what most people will do in their inbox is set some flags so that they stand out for them, or they'll mark them as read or unread so they know when to attend to them. And maybe they'll have a to-do list in their notebook of things that they need to do. But it's all noise. What we want to do is separate the things out that we don't need to action so they do not distract us, and have a curated list, a conveyor belt of tasks that we need to attend to, and focus on that most regularly, because mostly we're dealing in that space during the day. So what I want you to do now is grab a pen, and I'm going to show you this very famous quadrant. Most of you have probably seen it before because it works, right? This is known as the Eisenhower matrix, or the urgent important matrix. It was made famous by Stephen Covey in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So we're going to go back to basics and talk about basic principles of time management and prioritization. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you apply that into a digital space, right? It's transferring that methodology into the world that we work in. So I love a good quadrant. This is how these quadrants work. If you've done SWOT analysis or the urgent important matrix, they're all very similar in terms of how you lay them out. And what we need to remember is that the easy way to remember this, whoops, let me just move my slide. The easy way to remember this is we have headings up the top and then the opposite headings down the bottom. We have a heading on the left and then the opposite heading on the right. And so if you want to start mapping this out, drawing this out, you've got your quadrant on the top left and right, you've got the heading important. So you can have the opposite down the bottom, not important. This should be familiar for some people. You will have seen this. It's an oldie but a goodie. And then we've got urgent on the left-hand side, not urgent on the right-hand side. So what I'm going to do is step you through this. I'm going to give you there's a bit to write down. I'm going to give you some examples of things that fall within each of these quadrants. I'm going to give you a recommended time frame in terms of what's realistic about achieving these tasks in the time frame. And there's also going to be an approach you should take. There's going to be a theme with that. It's going to be a D word. So listen out for all of those things as I go through. I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can for you. All right, so let's start with this one. I used to think this was the most important one of all. Anything that's urgent and important, that's where we need to put all of our attention. The reality is, when things get here, it's a little too late. This is the fire that we're putting out. And I want you to think about this system like the triage system in the emergency department of a hospital. It's not about who walks through the door first. It's about who needs the attention most urgently right now, who is important in the sequence because of what they're experiencing. So it's not which email came in first. It's about which is most urgent or important, and thinking about where that sits. So anything that sits within this quadrant, it's kind of a bit late. We can't triage this anymore. We just have to do it. That's the D word, do it. And in terms of a time frame, it's going to be today or tomorrow that it has to be done. So what sits in this quadrant is things like crisis. It's the deadlines that are now here, the reports or proposals we need to do. It's any kind of emergencies. We have to stop what we're doing and do this, and it has to be today or tomorrow. Now, this one here, this is the one that really brings people unstuck. So I'm going to spend a bit of time on this one. This is the naughty one that people disregard, and it's their undoing. It's where something is really important, but you know what? I don't have to do it today. I've got plenty of time to do that thing. It's really important, but I'll do that when I've got time. So guess what? You don't have time. You fill up your diary every day and you don't do this one. So this is why this one, the approach you take is defer it. Now, that doesn't mean that you put it off. It means that you make time in the future to do this. So the sort of thing that sits within this quadrant is things like reports, assignments if you're studying, proposals. It is also relationships. So this will be things like team meetings, supervision, checking in with stakeholders, touching base with clients. Now, they're all important things, right? But not urgent. But guess what? If you don't do them, they're going to bite you in the backside. And so what we need to do, the analogy I use again, it's a bit like a bucket that you put on the lawn. So when you put a bucket on the lawn, the grass doesn't grow underneath. Nothing happens under that bucket, and the grass grows around the bucket. You can pick up that bucket and move it anytime, and the grass will grow where the bucket was. It's a bit like that in your calendar. Put the bucket somewhere in your calendar for 2 hours or an hour of a report writing. Now, if you need to pick it up and move it, you can. You can do that because something else more important has come up. But where are you going to put that bucket? You have to put it somewhere. And you're very conscious and very aware that that needs to go somewhere. So I work a lot with people in this space to ensure that they're being more efficient in allowing for these kind of scenarios, and also making sure that they're economical, that they're not underestimating how long things are going to take and plotting that out, which is another topic, which I wish I had more time to share with you. So in terms of time frame, if you haven't scheduled it this week, then by next week, you need to have scheduled it. All right, then we've got, the next one we've got is urgent, really urgent, but it's not important. And most people will say, surely if something is urgent, it's also important. Not always the case. Typically speaking, with this quadrant, it's important to somebody else, but it's not necessarily important that you do it. So I want you to think about the sort of things that fall into this quadrant are things that you can delegate. That's our D word. So to give you an example, while I'm delivering this presentation, my mobile phone, oh, you can't see it because it's blocked out. My mobile phone's going to ring, my business phone. It's important that that phone gets answered. You'd agree? It's not going to be me that's answering it. It's going to be a message bank saying, I'm unavailable right now. Please leave a message and I'll get back to you shortly. So I'm delegating that to a system that does the work for me. Autoresponders on emails, any tools that we can use to delegate to, or a person to delegate to, is ideal. So what typically happens when people are time poor, they panic and they micromanage. So we need to have really good delegation methodology and systems to have something come back to us and go, tap us on the shoulder and go, hey, you want to check up on that task you delegated to that person. You want to follow up on that proposal that you've sent out. It's probably time that you check up if you haven't heard from that person. We want those systems in place. So there's a time frame around it, and it's urgent that those things get addressed, but it doesn't need to be us doing it. We set up automations to pay bills, all of those kind of things. So if we think about bills, answering a phone call, responding to an email, time frame should probably be within the week, right? It needs to be some time this week that those things get attended to, responded to, or addressed. Maybe it's rescheduling a meeting that's happening, doctor's appointment, somebody else's time frame, and it's important to them, not necessarily important to you. You've got other fish to fry. Then we've got this one. And so the D word that belongs in this quadrant is delete it. If it's not urgent, it's not important, we want to get rid of it, right? It's got to be out of our focus and attention and not distract us. I will say to you though, David Allen talks about some things that we don't want to let go of. because maybe someday we want to deal with them. We want to look at them. In my business, for me, it's marketing ideas or product development. Oh, that's really interesting. I don't want to let that go. Now, for me, these things come across my space and they take me down a rabbit warren. Off I go, ooh, having a look and following links and emails and reading things and watching reels and videos. And then I look at my watch and go, what am I doing? I've just wasted 2 hours when I'm supposed to be doing this proposal. I've got better things to do than go off on this tangent. So David Allen talks about creating a space where you put these things, like a folder or a file, and call it someday maybe, or the back burn, or whatever it is, rainy day ideas, whatever it is, a place where you can park things and then come back to them at another time. So in terms of a time frame, this is relative to you and your environment. So for me, with my team, and all those marketing ideas, we park them and we look at them once a quarter. We unpack that little folder and have a look at everything that's in there and then make some plans. So the time frame for this one is kind of relative to you in terms of what that looks like. I'm just going to go through quickly, in case you missed it, summaries of all the things that sit within these quadrants, because you may not have picked up on all of the little things that I've said. So these are all the D words. If it's urgent and important, we just got to do it. If it's not urgent yet, but really important, we're deferring it, making time in the future. If it's urgent time frame, but it's not us that needs to do it, then we're delegating it. And then this one, delete it. Not urgent, not important, we delete it. So in terms of time frames, today or tomorrow for the urgent, important stuff. Not urgent yet, but it is important. By next week, you need to have scheduled it. And if it's urgent but not important, sometime this week. And like I said, time frame for this one is going to be up to you. If you want some ideas of the sort of things, these deadlines, emergencies, crises, that's what sits within this quadrant. This one is going to be projects, proposals. You'll notice I've got sport in there. That's because for me, it's my least favorite thing is fitness and health. So I make sure I put it in my calendar so that I'm mindful of it. I'm allowing for it. I'm not letting meetings run late and eat into a gym class that I'm going to do. Something that is important, but clearly not urgent. And if I don't do it, I'm going to get unhealthy and neglect my own health. So I need to schedule it. Anything that is somebody else's need, anything that you can delegate or have somebody else do for you or somebody else manage is what you want to put in with this quadrant. And I'm just going to put anything that's going to be a distraction for you. You can see what my kind of things are. Menial tasks, cleaning up your desk, we all use, or cleaning out the stationery cupboard, great distraction, but not necessarily something that you need to be doing right now. So what I want to do is to demonstrate to you how to put this into digital space. How do we apply this into the reality of how we're working and what we're doing? If you are interested, I've actually created an Excel spreadsheet with some formulas so that you can actually code things and it will put it into columns for you based on this is what you need to do this week, next week, whatever. I just do that for fun. It's not actually a tool that I use, but some people floats their boat. So if you want that, just reach out and I can share that with you. So I'm just going to go through with you some of the things that I set up in my email mastery system. There's some stuff that's a bit out there and it may challenge your thinking about what you actually do and the habits that you've set up with your email management. But this is how I apply this methodology into email management and some of the things that I implement to support people to gain back those 2 hours. The first thing that I get people to do is to turn off this little pop-up alert. If you've got a little pop-up that appears to tell you for every email that comes in, you need to turn it off because this is using up your very precious decision quota. You're looking at it and deciding, do I need to attend to that or not? Is that important? Do I want to look at that? When am I going to attend to that? And what the research shows us is that when we task switch, it takes us 3 times as long to get our concentration back and complete that task. So if you're writing an email that would normally take you a minute or 2 minutes, it's probably going to take you 3 to 6 minutes now. And you using that decision quota, you are exhausting your brain. So it's a really simple thing you can do straight off the bat to eliminate some of that decision quota. Now, I know when I start out with this with people, when I'm doing my system, some people freak out. They go, I need to know if the boss is sending me an email. Your boss doesn't pay you to sit there and monitor emails. Your boss pays you to focus your genius brain on the work at hand. So if it's really urgent, someone will ring you or tap you on the shoulder. And that's what should be happening. And you want to create that culture within the workplace so that people are having focused attention time. You can, and I do show people how to do this, you can create what I call VIP alerts. So you'll have pop-ups appear only for those special people. So you can do that. Now, in terms of deferring it, we want to have really effective prioritization. So I remember I said David Allen says put things into a place and have them come to you at just the right time. Most of you are probably already using that flagging system, but did you know, a lot of people don't know this, that there is a feature within Outlook called To-Do List, and it curates everything that you have flagged and removed anything that's not flagged. So you can see this is a conveyor belt, and I encourage people to use this system for their daily tasks. Now you can flag emails, yes, that have come in, but what people often don't realize is you can flag emails that you send out as well. You can also flag contacts that you have in your contact list. You can also create tasks. You can see here this icon here, that's a little task that I've created that's not attached to any kind of email. And I can pop notes into that task or a URL or whatever it is, attach a file of something I need to attend to. And what I'm able to do with this curated conveyor belt and task list is make a decision once of when I'm going to attend to something and then reprioritize really quickly. You'll notice up here, it's the Eisenhower matrix. It's the prioritized quadrant actually applied within the system. So when you click a flag, you can actually right click it and it will give you these options here to be able to prioritize that email. And then you go to your to-do list and it's curated onto the conveyor belt. And very quickly, you can, on a regular basis, reprioritize things. So you can see here, I'm just demonstrating to you again in this picture. There's the new task where you can click on a new task and create a task to add to your task list. So this is a video that I'm going to play for you. There's no audio, but it's me prioritizing my task list in real time. And I want you to see, I'm making decision once. What I need to do today, what can I put off? And you'll see sometimes I'm pausing because I'm thinking. I'm actually thinking about what I'm doing. So very quickly, I'm ticking things off my list. I'm marking them as complete, pushing some things to next week. Oh, that can wait. Oh, can't do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. And so I'm very quickly prioritizing my tasks. Now, there might be, we call this the bloodbath, when there's lots and lots of red there because things have fallen behind and probably I've been a bit ambitious. I've probably said, yeah, I want to do that sometime this week, this week I'll do it, this week I'll do it. And Monday, the bloodbath. So normally Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, I go through and reprioritize and make a decision once about what I'm actually going to do. I'm not going over and over my inbox and over all those things that are flagged or marked as unread. I'm making a decision once about when I'm going to do something and positioning it on my conveyor belt. All right, I'll move on. I think you get the idea. And just in the interest of time, I'll keep going. So most people, as I said to you, will have something that looks like this, which is a folder system. That's what we all do. That's how I started out. But the thing is that this system is based on a paper methodology. We're in a digital space now. So back in the olden days, when we got a fax or an email, we'd go across the filing cabinet, open up the drawer and go, okay, where am I going to put this letter so that I can find it again next time? And we make a decision. It's going to live in one place and one place only. And I hope to God I can find it when I need it. How often have you gone looking for an email in those folders and going, oh my God, where would I have put it? Where is it? And doing all the searches to try and find it. So the reality is that in the way that we operate within work, we're in a digital space now. We can look at things from different perspectives. They can belong to a variety of different categories. We get stuck in thinking about this email belongs to one category only. Bear with me and I'll explain to you what I mean. So, for example, this is typically what you might do. You have a folder that is based on the name. It's a who folder, right? It could be a folder that's the name of the client. It could be all the emails that come from the boss or your team. Maybe you've got some personal emails that come in and it's from the family. Maybe there's a governing body that you're a part of, an industry association, you're on an external stakeholder committee, or maybe you're part of a social group and emails come in. So these are all who kind of categories, right? And then you might have some folders. You might have a folder that says, oh, these are all the things that are urgent, or these are the things I'll do when possible, or these are the things I'm waiting on somebody. I'm waiting to get a quote for something. I'm waiting to hear from this person, and they're all sitting in that folder, and I'm waiting for a response to arrive. And then we might have different specific projects that we're working on. Hello, that's your industry. I know you've got those folders. So the reality is we can have one email that is actually categorized by all of these things, that's tagged by all of these things, and then we can find them based on that category. So now this is where I start to people's brain with the system that I'm using. If your inbox was actually paper, it'd probably look like that. Most people, it's an archive but it's also a receptacle for receiving new documentation and emails and letters and correspondence. So the methodology that I show people is that you only have 4 folders and that's it. 4 folders only. And you're all going, what? No way. So you have this inbox still, but it needs to be empty. It needs to be like the letterbox at the front of your house where you go and pick up the letter and take it inside and decide, do I need to action it? Do I need to archive it? Or is that something I want to read later on and have a look at? We don't stick it back in the envelope and stick it back in the letterbox, do we? So, but that's what this is for most people. So what I then do with those folders is I then use categories. So like what I was explaining to you before, I make a decision very quickly, very early on. Do I need to action this or not? If I'm not actioning it, where is it going? Is it going into the archive, or am I reading it, or am I throwing it away? But those emails that sit within my action folder can be categorized by whether or not they're urgent, by the project, by the person. It can have more than one way of me looking at it. And the beautiful thing about categories is that you can use them in your contact list, in your calendar, in your emails, and in that task list, in the to-do list. So yes, I've got my conveyor belt where I look at everything based on when it's due, but like that, I can switch it and I can change perspective. And we call this helicoptering in. So forget about time frame. I just want to see everything that I've got on my to-do list that's related to the XYZ project. Just show me all those things because I'm about to go into a meeting and I want to give them a status update on where I'm at with all of the tasks. It can be something like that. Very quickly, you can see where there's load. So what I'm able to do when I'm reprioritizing at the beginning of the week, I typically sort by category first. I go, right, I'm going to reprioritize all my urgent things and all of those things I said I'd do when possible or someday maybe that have come back to haunt me, they're going to go back down the conveyor belt and I can process them so quickly, very, very quickly. and just shifting perspective purely by the way I'm using those categories. So the other thing that I'm able to do, I set up some things to be able to automate that prioritization. So I'm either going to separate, the automation will put things into the read or the archive or categorize them or do that process for me, or it will attribute a time frame for me to be able to deal with it. So these are actually processes that I create in automation. I actually use a feature called Quick Steps that will create a button for me. And when I press that button, that it might be the action urgent button, right? When I press that button, it will mark my email as read. It will move it to my action folder. It will categorize it as urgent, and it will set a flag on it for me to attend to it today or tomorrow. So I just press one button and it does all those things. I don't need to use my brain to remember all that process. I've even got a button that when I hit it, it marks the email as read, moves it to my archive folder, it categorizes it finance receipt, removes any flags, and it forwards it to my accounting system. I had to really think about it then because that's about 6 things that it does, and I don't have to remember those. So I'm using a feature called Quick Steps. This is what Quick Steps looks like to do all of those things for me. And I help people set up those quick steps. I give them some generic ones that are going to work for them, but then I give them help them make some customizable ones that are going to work for them as well. Hopefully you've all seen the rules feature. The rules feature also works into play with that. So if I can say hand on heart, that industry newsletter that's coming in about, let's say it's from the Australian Human Resource Institute. They do great newsletters for me that I want to stay abreast of what's happening in that world. I will create a rule that says when that email comes in from Ari, it's going to be categorized industry newsletter along with a whole heap of other email addresses that are the same. It's going to be categorized industry newsletter, and it's going to move it into my read folder for me. So before I've even got to my inbox, some of the filing's already done. If I have PayPal receipts that come through for my business. I don't want to unsubscribe from them, but I don't need to see every PayPal receipt that comes in. So it's given the category finance PayPal receipt and goes into my read folder. And because everything's sorted by category in that folder, I can quickly make decisions about things. Now, there's a lot of you in your industry where you're CC'd in on something or you're sent a notification and it bogs down your inbox. So we can set some rules in place that process some of those things so automatically before they hit your inbox. I think there's there's a video, but I think for most of you, you've probably, if you haven't, go and have a look. But it just shows you, it's got this lovely little rules wizard where it gives you lots of options. When this email comes in, what do you want to do with it? Now, oh, it's cropping it a bit there, but what I typically do is apply a category to emails that come from certain people and certain groups. So it's not going anywhere, but half the filing is already done for me. As soon as that email hits my inbox, it's already got a category. So if I move it to my task list, my archive, my action folder, the category's already there and I didn't have to do it. It's already done, and half the filing and the decision making, it's already done. Didn't have to think about it. So this is the reality. I'm going to finish up in a minute so that we've got some time for some questions. But this is the truth. This is my reality. And those that use my system, I actually don't go into folders to look for the work that I do. It's scary, right? I actually check my inbox. There's only a handful of emails in there. I use the quick steps to make a decision about anything that's still sitting in my inbox about is it actionable or not? When do I need to action it? And then I go and look at my task list for what I need to do today. I only go into my action folder or my read folder or my archive folder if I'm looking for something specific. But you can search in your to-do list. So if I know that I've got something with a flag on it and I need to do it, rather than searching for all those folders of, oh, where is that email that told me what to do? I just go and search in my task list if I need to search. But if I've got categories, I can find it really quickly anyway. So I'm only checking my inbox probably about 3 or 4 times a day at the most, and just repeating this process. So these are those 4 Ds that I told you about through the quadrant. That's fundamental in terms of the approach that you need to take in managing the work that comes in. You can book, if you want to take a quick screenshot of that, or you'll see the recording afterwards, you are most welcome to book in a time with me to talk through some of those strategies and see what it might work, what it looks like for you. I do have self-directed learning on that process that I talked about, or you can ask me about the programs that I do one-on-one with people to get them through that system. Normally takes about 6 weeks to set that system up, but you will get to inbox zero within a couple of weeks. And it's such a good feeling when you get there, go, oh, no emails to contend with. Otherwise, you're welcome. Oh, there's a typo there. It shouldn't have a U on the end. It's just .com. You can find me. That's the company website. But you can find me on LinkedIn or TikTok or any of your favorite social media platforms. And I'm always putting out content around those pillar things that I explained to you at the beginning, around time management, setting boundaries, all of those things. So you're welcome, and lots of free resources. We do masterclasses like this quite regularly as well, which you're welcome to tap into.
I would like to thank you, Barbara, for your time today. It has been very insightful, and you have presented some great ideas on how we can manage our mail and our mailboxes. I will say that I am guilty of doing a lot of what you have actually spoken about today, and I am off now to disable the email pop-ups and no longer be distracted by them.
Well, that's great.
Excellent. Thank you for everybody that has joined online today. It's fantastic to see so many people that are actually joined us.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Barbara.
Bye.
Bye.